"Do not move," Lena said, her voice low but sharp. Theo's hand had already hovered too close to the Codex. His fingers paused in mid-air, just inches from the monolith's surface, where the texture had begun to ripple again. Slowly, he pulled back. His breath was steady, but the way his eyes locked on the shifting symbols betrayed something deeper, an obsession blooming just beneath the surface. "It changed again," he murmured, as if the words were meant only for himself. "That corner wasn't here yesterday. It's watching me." Lena stepped in behind him, the soles of her boots silent against the smooth alloy floor. The Codex chamber had cooled since morning, but the monolith was radiating faint warmth now. A strange, low thrum, vibrating just under the skin. She glanced at the patterns rearranging themselves, the same lines that had once meant nothing now flickering in fragments of structure half language, half intuition. "You're too close," she said. "Back up. We don't know if it's reading you or rewriting you." Theo didn't answer right away. He just stared, his jaw clenched, that quiet tension winding around his shoulders like a coil ready to snap. "I think it wants to talk," he said finally. "I think it already is." Lena opened her mouth to reply, but the chamber lights flickered once, just once, and the floor beneath them vibrated like something large and distant had just shifted. Neither of them moved. The sound hadn't come from within the ship. It came from beyond it. A soft tone clicked through their comms. Commander Hadrian's voice followed a second later, calm and focused as ever. "Team lead, be advised. We've picked up an object approaching from below the heliopause. No signature, no drive plume, but it's slowing. Estimated contact window is 86 minutes. No immediate danger unless it adjusts course. Keep positions tight." The line cut off. No one asked if it was related. They already knew. Theo slowly stepped away from the Codex, hands at his sides. "It's not random. That timing," Lena nodded once. "Nothing about this place has been," the monolith responded, right on cue. A glow spread slowly along its surface, forming a wide, flat panel that hadn't been there seconds before. It held no image this time, only words, in crisp, translated standard. "One must arrive before the others can follow." Lena stared at the sentence, then again at Theo. Her voice had dropped to almost a whisper. It knew. He didn't look away. "It knows." She glanced back at the entryway, as if expecting someone or something to step through it. But the corridor remained dark, curved, and silent, the same way it had since they first arrived. The black ship had no true straight lines, no right angles. It twisted gently, reshaping in ways that made traditional mapping difficult. Yet Lena had memorized the curves and shadows. And now something felt off. "The floor's warmer," she said quietly. Theo turned his gaze downward. He didn't need a scanner. The boots always told the truth. And they were telling him that the black ship was no longer passive. It was heating slowly, as if the systems were stirring in response to the message, or preparing for something more. He looked back at the Codex, studying the sentence again. "One must arrive." Lena spoke the rest aloud. "Before the others can follow." She didn't like the wording. There was weight to it, as if the Codex had been waiting for something or someone to cross an unseen threshold. A trigger, maybe. A signal. Theo broke the silence. "Do you think it's talking about the object?" "No," she said. "It's talking about you." He exhaled slowly. For once, he didn't joke. His usual dry wit had nowhere to hide in this atmosphere. Not with those words still glowing in front of them, carved as if with intention. "I didn't ask for this." Lena looked at him, not with sympathy, but understanding. "You think I did?" she said, voice low. "You think I wanted to spend 10 years chasing fragments of alien grammar just to end up in a ship that talks?" Like it knows our future? He looked over at her, surprised by the edge in her tone. He had never heard her sound so tired. "You volunteered," he said. "So did you." They stood in silence for a while, the hum of the Codex ever present, but strangely soothing. Neither of them knew whether to call it noise or communication. It didn't really matter anymore. The Codex pulsed again, and this time the light dimmed as the floor gave a subtle mechanical shift small enough that most would miss it. But not Theo. "Did you feel that?" he asked. Lena nodded. "Yes." He stepped closer again, this time more slowly. The Codex didn't react. No ripples. No light. Just silence. But Theo spoke anyway, softly, like he was addressing a living being. "What are you waiting for?" Another pulse. Then the light steadied. A second message appeared, slightly off-center, in a different script. It translated only. After a pause, "He is the fulcrum." Another line followed, immediately beneath it. He must choose. Theo stepped back, his expression unreadable. For a few seconds, Lena didn't say anything. She was watching him again, not the Codex, watching the way his eyes moved, the way his hands kept curling and uncurling at his sides. "What does that mean to you?" she asked finally. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the exit. Not to leave. Just thinking, calculating. Somewhere in the dark distance, something was approaching, slowing, waiting, and the Codex wasn't reacting to that dot, it was reacting to him. By the time Reed stepped into the chamber, the temperature had risen another half-degree. Not enough to cause alarm, but enough to notice. He didn't comment on it. Instead, he took one long look at the glowing text on the Codex, and then at the two standing in front of it. "We're gathering in the central chamber. You two are late." Lena closed her tablet without a word. Theo didn't move. Reed crossed the room with his usual clipped stride, glancing toward the curved wall as eyed. If it might shift again while his back was turned. "We've got 80 minutes before something makes visual contact. I want everyone briefed and positioned before that window closes." Theo turned slightly. "What's it look like?" Reed hesitated. "Just for a second. Hadrian's not calling. It a vessel? No known construction pattern. No comms, no radiation output, but it's moving like it has a destination. And it's decelerating with purpose." Theo raised an eyebrow. "So, a gift-wrapped mystery drifting straight toward us. That makes 3 of us now." Reed's expression didn't change. "This isn't funny." Theo shrugged. "I wasn't trying for funny. Just stating the mood." Lena glanced between them, and then moved toward the doorway. "Come on." No sense. Standing in here, waiting to be outvoted. The central chamber of the black ship was dimmer than the rest, its walls smoother, almost seamless. The structure had slowly shifted overnight subtle, reconfigurations that didn't show up on the scanners until they were already inside. Panels had reshaped, ceilings had lowered. Passageways that once connected now led to sealed alcoves. The ship wasn't just changing. It was adapting dot as the team gathered Reed, Lena, Theo, and the other 2 technicians, Davis and Nair. The room adjusted again. Not drastically, just enough for everyone to feel it. The kind of shift that made people glance over their shoulders or press their hands to the wall when they thought no one was looking. The Codex had stayed behind in its chamber, but the weight of it followed. No one said it out loud, but the silence between them had a texture now. Dense. Electric dot Reed activated the holomap. Hadrian's transmission came through cleanly, his tone as measured as ever. "We've confirmed a biological metallic object. Approaching at point 82C. No identifiable tech, but it's decelerating in a precise arc. Trajectory intersects with your location in 76 minutes. No visual markers yet. We'll keep you updated." Nair leaned forward. Biological and metallic? Lena responded without looking up. Braided tissues. Grown, not built. That's what the structure indicates so far. Probably fused neural metal composites. Davis grimaced. So, a thinking missile. Theo folded his arms, gaze fixed on the translucent object marker drifting across the display. Or a messenger. Reed's voice cut through the room. That's what we need to figure out. Fast. We hold our position. No interference. No response. Not until we know what we're dealing with. Lena exchanged a look with Theo. Quiet. But meaningful. Reed continued. And that concludes the Codex. No more direct interaction without team oversight. This thing isn't a relic. It's reacting. And it's not subtle anymore. It's never been subtle, Lena said. We just weren't listening hard enough. Double quotes. Theo spoke more quietly. It showed me something. Not a message this time. A version of me. Older. Different. I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure it was real. Reed narrowed his eyes. And now? Now I'm sure. The words hung there, heavier than they should have been. Across the room, one of the support consoles began to flicker. Just a soft blue line pulsing along the interface, echoing the rhythm of the Codex chamber. Lena turned slowly. It's sinking, even here. Davis stepped back. How is that even possible? The Codex isn't linked to the ship's network. It's isolated. Theo spoke again, almost to himself. I don't think it needs a link. A low hum settled over the chamber. Everyone heard it this time. It didn't come from a speaker or a system node. It came from the structure itself. A kind of resonance, as if the ship were vibrating around a sound they couldn't fully hear. Then the lights along. The chamber wall shifted. A new line of text appeared across the wall. Interface words, glowing slowly into existence. He is the fulcrum. A second line blinked into place beneath it. He must choose. Nair muttered under her breath, almost inaudible. Why him? Lena answered without hesitation. Because it's not about qualifications. It's about proximity, connection. Something in him made it respond. Theo didn't flinch, didn't look away. He was staring at the words, as if they were speaking directly into his spine. I didn't choose this. Reed stepped forward. And no one's saying you have to follow it. We don't know what this is yet. Theo turned to him, and for once the sarcasm was gone. No, but it does. He pointed to the wall. And whatever's heading this way, it's not coming. For us, it's coming because the Codex called it. That's what this is. A response. Reed looked back at the message, his mouth tightening into a line. Hadrian's voice cut in again, just as the room fell quiet. Update. Object has begun terminal deceleration. 59 minutes to arrival. Still no active scan. Still silent. Theo broke into a bitter smile. You hear that? It's not scanning us. He looked at Lena. His voice was softer this time. It's scanning me. The observation deck of the black ship wasn't built for humans, at least not originally. The floor sloped subtly toward the outer viewport, creating a strange feeling of tilt, like standing at the edge of a steep incline while trying to look up at the sky. The air was denser here, thicker with whatever the ship used to maintain pressure. And yet, none of that was what made the room difficult to stand in. It was the silence. It wasn't passive. It was listening. Lena leaned forward over the console, hands resting against the rim. She had run the scan 3 times already, and it still didn't make sense. It's not a vessel. At least not by our definitions, she said, voice steady. It's grown, not assembled. Surface temperature's rising as it decelerates, but there's no energy discharge. No engine bloom, no control surfaces. Behind her, Theo crossed his arms and stared out the viewport. The object was still too far to see with the naked eye, but the data feeds gave shape to it. Organic metal. Spear-like structure. About 50 meters long. Its exterior shimmered with reflective patches that kept reconfiguring like a language they weren't meant to read. So not a ship, he said. More like a biological delivery system? Lena turned to him. You're not wrong, but it's not being fired at us. It's slowing down, choosing us, matching the Codex's rhythm. Reed's voice came through the deck channel, clipped and tense. Observation. Confirm external motion. Lena pressed a few keys. A low tone sounded as the external camera feed came into view. The object was now clearly rotating slow, deliberate turns, not tumbling. It's aligning, she said. Theo stepped closer. His eyes flicked across the details, then to the overlay map showing the black ship's structure. One of the outer spines, barely accessible from the exterior, was lighting up in tandem. It's not just aligning, he said. It's choosing where to dock. Lena didn't respond. She was already running the overlay comparison. The Codex chamber's wall had displayed a diagram 20 hours ago. A star-shaped node with a long trailing connection, positioned at the edge of the ship's hull. At the time, it was assumed to be a symbolic map dot, but now, on screen, the shape matched exactly. Theo, she said. It showed us this connection. Point before the object ever appeared. He looked at her, face unreadable. So this was never about first contact. This is step 2. Reed entered the observation deck mid-conversation, his voice cutting through the growing static. The ship's outer hull just reshaped. Section 5A's surface plates are retracting exactly where that thing is headed. Theo blinked. It's inviting it in. Reed stepped toward the screen, folding his arms. He didn't look at either of them when he spoke. Hadrian wants us to maintain complete internal lockdown. No interference, no acknowledgement, no movement toward the object until we know if it's hostile. You think it matters if we do or don't? Theo asked. It's not looking for a handshake. It's answering a call. Reed finally turned, eyes narrowing. And we don't even know who dialed. Theo pointed to the Codex readout on Lena's console. The diagram of the outer spine connection was still glowing. Yes, we do. The silence after that felt like something heavy settling between them. Lena looked at Reed. It's coming to interface, not attack. I think we're looking at a neural relay, a biological construct meant to transmit or receive something. Maybe both, or someone, Theo added. Lena hesitated. Her voice softened slightly. I think the Codex is preparing to show us something through it, or show it something through us. Theo said nothing. He simply turned back to the viewport, watching the data feed. The object was rotating more slowly now. Its surface pulses were syncing with the Codex's pattern. Even at this distance, the rhythm was unmistakable. One pulse every 9 seconds. Reed's voice came again, this time quieter. I need to know something, and I want a straight answer. Theo turned his head slightly. All right. Has it spoken to you again? Not just words, not just messages on walls. I mean, directly. Theo looked down at his hands. He flexed them once, slowly. Not like a voice, more like an instinct. Like it's planting impressions. And what kind of impressions? Reed pressed. Not threats, Theo said. Not orders either, just possibilities. Lena looked back to the readout, and that's what makes this dangerous. She looked at Theo. You're not just the key, you're the test. The observation deck lights flickered again, briefly. On the screen, the object was within 250,000 kilometers now. 38 minutes to arrival. Lena whispered, almost to herself. It's coming to meet the Codex. Theo nodded. and the Codex is waiting for me to decide what happens when it gets here. The drone's corpse was still sparking in the alley below, and the sky lit up again. This time, it wasn't thunder or weapon discharge. It was the pale shimmer of an atmospheric fold something opening far too close. Kellen didn't need to. Look, he felt it in his ribs. A pressure shift. A ringing in his jawbone. He grabbed Lyra's shoulder as she stepped forward. "Don't," he said quietly. She froze, then looked up, eyes reflecting the swirling distortion above the rooftops. It was forming a tunnel. Not large, but sharp and surgical, like a scalpel slicing through dimensions. A private corridor, designed to drop something in without letting anything out. Kellen's voice dropped lower. "This isn't SciFi. No, it's them." The fold pulsed once, then spat something out. A unit, not a drone, not a vessel, a person. Tall, silver-armored, and silent as it landed on the rooftop across from them. The suit glinted with neural striping, pulse laced with data streams moving. Too fast to track. The fold sealed behind it. Lyra's whisper barely carried. "Did we trigger it? Not us. The drone. It was watching us for them." The figure didn't move. It just stood there, visor facing the rooftop, watching, measuring. Then it tilted its head slightly, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Kellen's hands tightened at his sides. He didn't know whether to step forward or vanish. But he knew this. Whoever was in that suit wasn't here for protocol. It didn't travel through a fold just to send a message. The figure lifted its arm. Lyra pulled Kellen back behind the cover of a rusted duct, breath caught in her throat. "We run? We're out of high ground." "So what do we do?" Kellen glanced up again. The figure hadn't fired. Its arm was extended, but steady, almost like it was scanning. "They're not shooting yet," he said, then paused. "They're waiting. For what? For something we haven't done yet." That's when the comm in Lyra's pocket clicked on. No signal request. No pairing handshake. Just one sound. A child's voice whispering across static. "I see you." Kellen froze. Lyra's fingers tightened around the comm, her knuckles whitening. That wasn't a recording. That wasn't mimicry. That voice had hesitation, breath, real time. The figure lowered its arm. Then it turned and walked away. Not rushed, not aggressive, just deliberate. The rooftop it stood on shimmered at the edges, like it wasn't part of the world anymore, like it had already been claimed. Kellen stood slowly, heart thudding. "That wasn't a drone response," he muttered. Lyra nodded. "It was a mark." She looked at him, and for the first time since they'd left the silos, he saw something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Fear, but not of death. Recognition. Whatever had found them, knew them. No one said a word as the lift sank deeper into the sub-core levels. Just the low hum of descending machinery and the heavy stillness inside the chamber. Juno was leaned against the wall now. Her breathing steadied, but her eyes fixed, still watching. Harrow like he was going to vanish again. He had not said anything since they left the upper vault. Maybe he did not know what to say. Or maybe he was still trying to process how much of the world had shifted in under 10 minutes. The lights inside. The lift turned a dull amber. Automatic signal. Proximity alert. Not a threat, just a notification. They were entering the oldest layer of the base. "This floor was sealed 20 years ago," Juno said quietly. "No one goes down here without permission from High Command." "Why? Is it still powered?" Juno shrugged one shoulder. "No one asks that either." The doors opened with a slow hiss. Rust had eaten through parts of the inner frame, and the air that rushed out had a sharp, metallic taste to it. The corridor ahead was darker than it should have been, lit only by maintenance strips along the lower walls. Harrow stepped out first, and Juno followed. her hand close to her sidearm, but not drawing it yet. The hall was narrow and old, really old. The walls still had legacy unit markings from before the Reformation protocols. Juno touched one symbol with her fingertips. 4th Division insignia, she said, voice quiet. These guys were wiped out during the neural scourge. Almost 2 decades back. Then why is their lab still receiving encrypted pings from orbit? Harrow asked. She looked at him. That's what you're here to find out, isn't it? He nodded, keeping his steps measured as they moved. The map Juno had uploaded was only partially accurate. 2 turns in, they found a sealed hatch that should not have existed. Not on the old records. Not even in the classified layers. Someone had gone out of their way to erase it, but not far enough. The biometric scanner on the panel beside, it was still active, still pulsing. Juno stepped up to it. If this thing recognizes me, we've got bigger problems than just a rogue signal. The scanner blinked, scanned her face, and let out a soft chirp and turned green. The hatch unsealed with a slow grind of locks and old hydraulics. Cold air poured out, sterile and sharp, like walking into a room that had been waiting. The chamber inside was massive, far more than they expected. It stretched deep into the earth, walls lined with old consoles, suspended data crates, and scaffolding, leading up to glass pods, not cryo units, something older. And Stranger Juno stepped slowly, scanning the room. I don't like this. Someone's been maintaining it. Harrow moved to one of the control panels, brushing dust off the surface. These readouts are less than 2 months old. They told us all tech from this era was purged, that it was too corrupted to save. Juno looked around again. So either they were lying, or someone's been rebuilding. She tapped into one of the crates, watching old code scroll to life. Foreign, complex, alive in a way that code should not be. It's not just storage, she said, breath-catching. These are neural tapes, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. For what purpose? The lights above them flickered once, then twice. Something else had noticed them. Or someone. Harrow looked up toward the glass pods suspended above. One of them held a shape. It was humanoid, but just barely. Thin wiring wrapped around its limbs. No visible eyes. No breathing tubes. Just ... stillness. Waiting got Juno back toward him, without turning her eyes away from it. You think this is connected to the ship? It might be older than the ship, Harrow muttered. Or ... it might be what the ship was sent to find. Before Juno could reply, the pod let out a slow mechanical hiss, and for the first time, they both heard it. A voice, not from the speakers, not from any visible source, just a voice in their minds. Do you remember me? Juno froze. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Harrow turned toward the console again, pulling up the feed. We're not alone down here. No, Juno said finally. Her voice was low, but steady. We were never supposed to be. A low rumble moved through the floor. Lights snapped on across the upper walkways. More pods, more shapes. The lab wasn't abandoned. It had been ... preparing. Juno looked at Harrow. There was no fear in her face now, just understanding. You know this isn't a recon anymore, she said. I know. You ready for whatever's next? Harrow stepped away from the console, eyes locked. On the shadows above. Not even close, he said. But we're out of time to prepare.